All right, if I have done this correctly, we are live now. Hello, everybody. My name is Joshua Peugh. I'm the founder and artistic director of Dark Circles Contemporary Dance. My pronouns are he and him. I am joining you right now from Dallas, Texas, which is on the traditional lands of the Kickapoo, the Humanos, the Tawakani, and the Wichita. This is our first week in a 4-week series that we're calling Late Night Coffee, where I'm chit-chatting with 13 of today's most sought-after choreographers and also really dear friends of mine who inspire me and rejuvenate me. Today, I am welcoming Mike Esperanza, who has done a million things in graphic design, including graphic design for Dark Circles for the last several years. He's also the founder and artistic director of Bear Dance and has presented his work on stages around the world, the Kennedy Center, at the Royal Conservatory in Cordoba, Spain. He's created new works for Los Angeles Contemporary Dance, as well as Dark Circles in our second season, I believe. I also have Gabrielle Lamb, which is the winner of the 2020 Guggenheim Fellowship. I'm super proud of her. Also a winner of the Princess Grace Award in 2014 for choreography. She's created works for American Ballet Theater, for Royal Winnipeg, for Dark Circles, for Wim Wim Ballet, Sacramento Ballet, Hubbard Street 2, Milwaukee Ballet, Ballet Memphis, where I got to spend about 4 weeks hanging out with Gabrielle, and super excited to have her here. We have Joshua Manculich with us, who is currently on staff at Sam Houston State University, but who's created works for Collage Dance, Dance Work Chicago, Eisenhower Dance Detroit, the Big Muddy Dance Company. He got a Princess Grace to do that work, and for Houston Contemporary Dance, among many others. And last but not least, my dear friend Stephanie Martinez, who has created works for the Joffrey, Ballet Hispanico, Luna Negra, for Ballet Memphis. And I'm just super excited to have them all with me. And I'm gonna ask them now to join me, turn on their videos. Hi, guys. So good to see everybody. So happy. Why don't you tell us where you are? Gabrielle, where are you?
I'm currently in Upper Manhattan in my home and currently my dance studio where I
Nice.
live. Yeah. Good to be here. Thanks.
Hey, Mike, where are you at?
I am in the former land of the Canarsie, which is now Brooklyn, Crown Heights. Crown Heights.
We've got our 2 New York choreographers. Joshua, where are you?
I just got done teaching in Spring, Texas. It's about 45 minutes north of Houston. Yes, I got my pretty lights for us in the background, coffee shop lights.
So nice. Give us the atmosphere, the ambiance.
Yes.
And Stephanie.
Hi guys, I'm here in Chicago. It's not freezing yet, and I am currently in my bedroom. I wish I had a dance studio. I mean, I kind of use my living room a little bit as, yeah, it's surprising what you can figure out at a time like this, and you know, how we can keep creating. And, you know, I work, live and breathe kind of in my home space here these days.
Did you get out and take some walks around the block?
You know, I do. I actually do. My husband's like, you know what? You need to get out of here. You've been inside for 3 days. Like, you know, I walk around, but I do a lot of like, I haven't been home this much in a long time, you know, and it's been pretty myopic. So it's, you know, this is why I love watching Gabrielle's like, you know, carpet. I was like, oh, she's outside and look at, I mean, it just looks like lovely and cool.
It's right there.
Yeah. I kind of have a rug like that in my house. It's just a little bit darker. I was like, that's pretty innovative. I like that. Yeah, it's like moving art.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, Gabrielle?
Sure. Yeah. So, well, to make a long story short, at the beginning of the quarantine period, I didn't want to choreograph anything. I thought it was just going to last for 2 weeks. So, why should I choreograph anything in a small space? So I started teaching in here. And when I say this is my dance studio, I mean, this is a 10 by 13 room. This is not a dance studio. And so I started teaching, and then after a couple of weeks, it became evident that this was going to last longer. And so I started making a series of solos on myself, which I hadn't performed my own work in a very long time. And eventually that evolved into a larger project. It has expanded to go outdoors. I had a commission from Works in Process at the Guggenheim, and decided that was the first time I would take my rug outdoors, just simply because I thought it wouldn't be very pretty here to film myself in this small room for a nice commission like that. So I took the rug outside, and then I noticed that actually people are kind of interested in what's going on if you dance around on a rug outside. And from there, I invited several dancers in my company, and we've developed a show that runs twice a week now. And we're on, tomorrow will be, I guess, our 15th location in New York City. Yeah, doing a tour of parks and sidewalks of New York and on the rug, 5x8 rug.
That's so exciting. It's so cool. I love seeing all the pictures. I wish I could come walk up and see it in person. Maybe that day isn't too far off.
Yeah, maybe I'll tour to Houston. No, sorry, Dallas and
Please.
Houston. Yeah.
Well, you have a bedroom. Most everybody on this call has stayed at our house one time or another. We have to start this by doing this correctly. This is a late night coffee situation. And so I need to know what your coffee order would be if we were in a coffee shop. I have my latte. I'm actually drinking coffee at night, which I haven't done in a long time. I'm nervous that I'm not going to be able to sleep, but I'm excited still because I love evening coffee. And Joshua, what do you have?
I had a grande cinnamon almond milk foam thing from Starbucks. I don't usually get fancy drinks, but the cinnamon and almond milk sounded good. And I also have espresso coffee from the office. Double fisting.
What about you, Mike? What do you have? What would you have?
Oh, what? Well, I would probably have a green tea latte.
That was always my evening drink when I was living in Seoul.
Yeah, it's so good.
So good. What about you, Stephanie?
I'm more of a tea person, or I'll just drink a black coffee. I'm like an old school like waitress from the 50s. Give me a black coffee. Or tea, or Earl Grey tea.
Without the cigarettes, right?
Yeah, I've kind of, no more cigarettes. Cut down my caffeine intake. I just feel like when I was dancing, I drank a lot of coffee, and now just a little bit. I just need a little bit just to kind of wake me up, and I'm on water.
I couldn't do it.
Kind of boring.
Gabrielle?
I would do definitely at this hour a decaf latte, maybe on a night like this, a decaf iced latte. Yeah, I don't do caffeine afternoon.
That's a good choice, probably. Mike, what are you working on?
I'm actually working with Jen Mavis in her school right now. I just got done with rehearsal. We're doing a live stream show that's going to be streamed next Friday. So it's like a 45-minute show that we're creating with the students all in their homes, and then we're live streaming it on YouTube through OBS with live video, with live feed and recorded video at the same time. And so it's pretty fun.
That's so exciting. And for people who don't know who Jennifer Mavis is, she was a founding member for Battleworks, for Robert Battle's company. She was a founding member for Take Dance, for Take, and she was a founding member for Dark Circles in America. So she has been, she has a legacy.
Yeah.
She has been somebody who's been really important to choreographers, and she's been very loyal to helping them sort of make their work come to life. She's very special, very, very special.
Yeah. So she's the chair over at University of St. Thomas, Houston. So we have, there's 11 kids in the show, so it's fun. Cool.
Can I just ask a question about that, just for my own curiosity?
Yeah.
like, are you trying to do any unison with them? Like, how are you, what are they doing? Because
So
far on Zoom, all I can do is choreograph solos.
So you can actually set Zoom up so it doesn't show up. Their names don't appear. So
Yeah.
if they click on their own cameras, they appear and they can appear in a box like a Brady Bunch box without anything. And you can change the configuration if you wanted to.
Oh, okay. We have to talk about that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, but we've done unison where it cuts back and forth. So I switch everything on Zoom. So everything is on downbeat, and then so it switches, and sometimes it's really on time, but sometimes it's a little bit off just because of lag.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we've been doing pretty good unison. Right now, we're actually working with a duet where the light is in the center of the frame, and so it switches back and forth. So one dancer is on one side, the other dancer is on the other side. So when I switch, the light stays stationary in the center, and then it switches from side to side. And then it's nice because they have contrasting rooms. So one's in like a really light room, and then the other is in a really dark room. So their costumes are opposite as well. Yeah, it's fun. So working that format, it's really like challenging at that point. But like sometimes you get like a group of 19 that you have to work with, and then this is nice because it's a group of 11, and so it's a little less switching back and forth and just a focus on like how do you combine. And we were working a lot with like passageways and like going through this door, and then this one exits that door, and then going, so it's like a maze. So we've been working a lot through that. So architecturally it's working out, so it's good.
That's so cool. Josh, what have you been working on?
I'm gonna go outside to a football field. Lots of those too in Texas. And Evelyn, one of our former grad students at SAM, she's now a lecturer. We're like collaborating, and she's kind of like the flow air and I'm the earth. And so we're like playing with those like contrasting feelings. And we have 14 students and then a duet that's like about magnets. And so like just because we can't really touch, like how you can play with energy even though it's not touch. And I'm really enjoying being outside, or like the idea of filming. And we do have some fancy film equipment that I have to learn how to use. Maybe call some friends to help out with me.
Are you dancing or
Nope. Just watching with the coffee.
Okay.
But no, like you, I've been having to choreograph a lot with my own body, like just with Zoom and stuff. So it's kind of fun to see like all this material that I made over COVID, like on people or with people now, and in a football field.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I love a good football field.
I was in marching band in a band nerd, so like I'm getting like all this sort of like nostalgia and formations, and it's gonna be a good time.
That's what I'm talking about. I want the deep dig. I want to know you were a band nerd on the march. Oh my God. What did you play? What instrument?
Well, I started out with cymbals. I was really bad, and then trumpet, and then mellophone, and then I was the drum major, and a really bad one because I would let them lead me as a dancer. And I wasn't very good at like setting so I transitioned.
That is amazing. Stephanie, what are you working on?
Let's see. I finished something with Orlando Ballet a little bit ago. I had to do it live through Zoom, which was very challenging. Doing anything live from Zoom, I don't know if I would ever do that again. It was, it was all math, basically, just having them in and out at the same time in the same speed so you could rehearse. So that it was fun though. I had a really good time. But it was challenging. I learned a lot about myself and the choices that I make in this different medium, instead of like on stage, and what's interesting to the viewer in terms of like full on dancing, or you just, you come up from the screen, whatever, so trying to figure out what that was. I'm doing a work with a Ballet X soon, and a virtual work, and imagery. Amy Sywart's, they've kind of pivoted into it's sketch Red Threads, and it's me, Jennifer Archibald, Amy, and Ben Needham Wood. I'm from Chicago. Jennifer's from New York, Amy's in San Francisco. So it's all about mental illness and where we're at right now. And so studying different people and different subject matters. So I'm really kind of digging into that as well. And I find it really fascinating and just something that I can really kind of sink my teeth into, and meeting people and hearing their stories when normally I probably wouldn't get that opportunity to meet these people. And then I started my own kind of project here in Chicago, Hadamar. And, I thought, okay, I felt really compelled to do something. That's why I have such respect for, Gabrielle. Like, no, but at first I kind of resisted it. I didn't, and I thought, I still need to make things in a time like this. I still need to practice and work this muscle in whatever way I can, and share in whatever way I can share. So I can't say who, but we officially have hired dancers as of today. And we are doing a huge socially distant show in a major parking lot, and just kind of bare bones, and see what happens, and giving free classes. And then we go to underserved communities that actually would never have access to any type of, art in their communities. So that's where I'm more busy in COVID than I am, normally.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, we as choreographers, and maybe just as art people in general, just have this insatiable desire to make things happen, to make things constantly. And I'm wondering if you guys have enjoyed not producing things. Like, for me, it's been nice to have a bit of a break, because I've been constantly producing things for 10 years. I'm curious whether it's been nice for you to have a bit of time to like to see things. I feel like we don't often get a chance to watch each other's work or to read. I've been reading a lot. Is anybody reading anything interesting? Anybody? I've got this. I'm in the middle of it. It's fantastic. Deacon King Kong, James McBride. I've been reading constantly. Mike, what have you been doing that is sort of like outside of our world?
I've just been making film, actually. Or I started doing makeup stuff too, like kind of just creating and sewing, and like I've been collecting so much stuff because I've been alone for like 5 months. So my roommate came back like maybe a week or two weeks ago. So I've been alone since the beginning of pandemic, and so I've just been collecting and trying to make stuff, and that's outside of dance, but like film, and trying to learn all these like programs that I should have known a long time ago, but just haven't had time. And so that's what I've been doing, a lot of learning stuff.
I feel like you have mastery of a lot of things that most of us don't. I feel like maybe,
It's just like, it's like when you dabble onto it, you kind of know certain things, but like you don't know everything to the extent. So I feel like I've spent a lot of time just to like, just give myself that moment to like just focus on one thing and then master it, or take it to some other level. But yeah, it's been good for this time, at least.
Gabrielle, have you read any good poetry?
Poetry. Yeah, I have, but it's kind of eluding me now. I guess I've read some good books, but I can't really say that I've read more than I would otherwise. I wish I could say that, but I feel like the new like 90% online life that we're all leading, it makes it hard for me to transition and focus on a book. I mean, I am reading an interesting book at the moment called Thinking in Systems. I would like to read more fiction, but yeah, I feel like this internet brain is not conducive to reading. Yeah, I would say that I would like to say also that I've gotten away from dance, but I don't think I've gotten away from dance. I mean, I'm definitely seeing and practicing dance in a different way, but I would have not taken a substantial break from dance. Maybe because like all the gyms are closed, and even if I don't need dance, I really need physical activity. And so it's just like, well, I can't do it. There's nothing else to do. So I guess I'll just take another dance class or teach another dance class or choreograph something.
I think we're a bit lucky in the South. I bought like $100 bike, and I've been riding my bike every day, like 14 miles to and from the lake. And there's a flock of green parakeets at the lake that I go and watch every day. Today I saw a giant cottonmouth on this trail. So I've spent a lot of time outside and but yeah, I understand. I also probably have gained 10 pounds during COVID. But what about you, Stephanie? Not have you gained weight, but like,
well, yes. Yeah, I don't know. Yes. I mean, you know, it's the skinny fat situation. I don't particularly like, you know, it's hard. You're right. You know, Gabrielle, like I take yoga. I mean, I take yoga every morning, but that's not really a workout. I do struggle with it a little bit. I was like, okay, you have to be more active. I think one thing I've noticed personally about myself is that I'm living in my brain a lot more than I'm living in my physical body. And it's something that I kind of need to balance out. You know, I thought about that a couple of weeks. I'm like, you really live in your head. And when it was the opposite, when I was dancing, I was so physical. And I think right now, COVID, it kind of switched, you know, like, because she mentioned that we're always on the computer. And as far as books go, you know, I will start a book, but I struggle with the capacity to finish it or focus on it. And it's really annoying. I'm like, you bought this thing, you're interested in it. Why do you keep going back to your computer or checking this or checking that? And I think it's, you know, it's just kind of training myself. And I also think it's healthier just to not be navigating, you know, like do this and that. But this is where we're at. This is what I feel like I kind of have to do at this point. I mean, I don't really have to do anything, but this is where my brain is these days, is really online. I also know that sitting is killing my body. I'm sitting a lot and I got to figure it out.
yeah,
I really do.
Our couch has a brand new like divot in it. It looks way more used than it has ever looked in years, in all of our years of being in this house. Gabrielle, when I was reading through your bio again, I noticed at the bottom that you had included all the people that you feel like had influenced your work. And I'm wondering whether some of the rest of you, and Gabrielle too, if you could tell us who some of your heroes are. They don't necessarily have to be dance people or choreographer people either. It's just.
I mean, yeah, the ones I included in my bio, I guess, are choreographer people, and that's one version of my bio. That I don't always do that, but I guess I would be maybe more interested at this point in who are my non-dance heroes. Because as soon as I start thinking about who the dance heroes are, I think I start trying to emulate them, or, you know, yeah, so like writers I really admire, like Rebecca Solnit or Annie Dillard or Joan Didion. Essayists, I guess these are all essayists that I'm naming. Ursula Le Guin, I think we talked about, and I read one of her books of essays at your house. Yeah.
What
about you, Mike? Who are some of your heroes in or out of the dance field?
It's usually all my mentors in college and, you know, learning and going through dance, just because they've always like kind of ingrained these like strict ways to create work, I guess. You know, you always go back to the people who you've learned from, and you just remember what they tell you in the beginning, and you just go back to that, because I feel like sometimes you overcomplicate stuff, and you just have to go back to the people who like took care of you in the beginning and remember what they told you in order to push further, I guess. And it's always like going back to your parents and getting, you know, like getting their approval of stuff. And so I always go back to my teachers in college and growing up in studios, and just remembering what they you know, inspire me. to keep continuing.
Name some. Give us a name or two.
Oh, just Gladys is one. She was the chair while I was in school, and she was the first one to use me while I was in school, because I started dancing when I was a junior in college. And so she was just like, you're going to be in my piece. I'm like, okay. Like, I only started dancing like last semester, so help me out here. So she was great. Chris Baltes, who passed away 2 years ago, she's just became like a really good friend. Like when I moved here, she had visited, and we kind of found this like great friendship as far as like both educators, and like we bonded really well when she came to visit. And I've just admired her like tenacity to work and just continue the fight to be educators. So I love those two very much.
Joshua, who are some of your heroes?
Definitely Angela Dice. I don't know. She was a dancer with Dance Works Chicago, and I went to Point Park with her. We both transferred from a university not having studied dance as our major. And so we both came into Point Park being like, we miss dance, and just a storyteller, like a human and then a dancer. Definitely her. Dr. Candice Feck at Ohio State. She taught me how to write about dance. Like she always was so adamant about finding the right word. Like I think of us in rehearsals when we're like trying to find that right way of moving. Like she was so good about writing. And I'd say my students at SAM right now, like there's just so many young minds and people where I don't think I had the capacity for the artistry that I see. And I'm wondering, like, with COVID and things going on, that people are really able to draw from real things right now, like real experiences. So I'd definitely say like the kiddos of the dance world are my teachers right now.
Do you think that it also maybe has something to do with the access that they have to stuff, to seeing things? Like, I have a million VHS cassettes under my bed in my home bedroom, in my like childhood bedroom, of like great performances that I recorded off the TV. And I can't imagine now being able to sort of just finding a way to filter some of the millions and millions of pieces of work. What about you, Stephanie?
I thought long and hard about this. I was like, I have so many different heroes and other facets of my life. But in terms of dance, I mean, there was this woman, Claire Bataille. She just passed away, and she was an original member of Hubbard Street and was also on Hubbard Street for many years, took over the studio. And, she gave me my first scholarship when, Lou Conte, which was the director of Hubbard Street back then, was like, God, no, are you insane? So I think, I really thank her for taking me under her wing. And again, I was a late bloomer. I didn't start dancing until I was 19. I mean, that was really, there was no dance in El Paso. I think we've talked about that. There was like flamenco and stuff like that, but not really any formal training. So she really kind of like whipped me into shape in the best mama kind of way, and was always, gave me a lot of courage. She gave me the real talk, but she was also, I don't know. She was, like I said, she was kind of like a mama when I really needed one, because I was, I was young, I was floundering, I didn't know which way to go. So she gave me a lot of direction. And, recently I had to go into, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong, but I remember going into the hospital having a procedure, and just seeing the men and women like that are working in these hospitals. It's just like, it's astounding how, what they do for us so we're healthy. I really thought about that. I was like, this is pretty incredible. The selflessness of like them showing up every day, and it, you see it on TV, and then like I went in and I was like, oh, this is not just this sensationalized thing that I'm watching on television, but I actually saw it in action. And my mother was a nurse, and she, so just like the people kind of in in the medical system that are like showing up every day, you know, for us or for the sick, which I probably, because I live in a bubble, I probably would have never really noticed it unless I was there. So.
That's so funny, Stephanie. We have something else in common. Both of our moms are nurses.
Okay.
So Stephanie and I, after many, many emails over many, many years, end up being roommates, and both of our partners were supposed to come stay with us. We were both premiering works for Madco in St. Louis last year, a little over a year ago. And we both showed up, and neither one of our partners showed up with us. And it's just me and Stephanie in this house. And we hadn't ever really talked, and we were both a little bit nervous, and realized that Stephanie was from El Paso and I'm from Las Cruces, which is like 30 miles down the road. And just all of these magical sort of connections started to happen. It was really special, which is why I'm wearing my St. Louis shirt tonight, actually.
We were desert
Totally.
babies. We grew up in the desert, you know, that we had that in common, and we just kind of, the lifestyle of how we grew up was very similar. So we had that connection, and it was the Unity Project, I think. That's what we worked on. Yeah, it was fun. I love that company.
So special. That company is so special. We're going to drop, hopefully throughout this, Shadi, our executive director and also my partner, has been dropping links to things that people are mentioning sort of in the comments. So if you're curious about any of these things, please read through the comments. But yeah, Madco is such a special company, doing really cool work in St. Louis, and working with them totally changed my life. Not only did I, learn a lot choreographically, but I also, gained a dear, dear friend who I stayed up all night talking. This is late night coffee, Stephanie. Was me and you after rehearsal and after the performances sitting up all night and trying to like get out of the doorway in the bathroom that we were sharing, like just talking and couldn't stop.
Yes. And I was like, we need to go to bed.
That's late night coffee, people.
That was late night. That was some late night coffee. But you were always so much more active. You're like, I'm gonna take a drive. I'm gonna go shopping. I'm gonna go do this. Like, I'm gonna hibernate in my room. Yeah. I'm gonna isolate my room. I
love learning new places, and I love to eat my way through a city. And I really love commissions. Is anybody else sort of missing commissions? That like working vacation situation?
Yeah.
Gabrielle, did you have anything that got canceled or postponed?
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff. I mean, I had some tours, and I had a commission for University of Kansas. It's been postponed, and another one for Boston Conservatory that's become a virtual commission. So I think I'm going to email Mike and find out a lot about his virtual commission experiences, because so far I have assiduously avoided doing a virtual creation. It's like I will create on Zoom, but I want to perform live. I have not felt inspired to, well, aside from like putting up something on Vimeo, a dance film or something like that. I haven't wanted to do a group work virtually, but it's going to have to happen. So I need to think about what is the platform, how does it work? But I honestly was looking forward to going to Boston in person.
What do you think, and anyone really, what do you think performances look like after this? Do you think we go back to that, that structure that's been there? I mean, we've been through a social reckoning and also, COVID. I'm curious. I mean, I have my own suppositions about what I think is going to happen. I'm curious if any of you have thoughts about what it might look like after we come out the other side of this.
I mean, I can only speak for what I am enjoying doing and what I am not enjoying doing. And I cannot bring myself to watch streaming entertainment. There's so many things that people have sent me. I did okay in the beginning, like watching this and that digital season, and people have sent me so many things by like really top-notch creators and choreographers. I'm just like, I can't sit down in front of my computer for one more minute to watch anything, which is too bad because I know a lot of really smart people are making things. So I guess that's why all I could do was go outside and perform outside. And I think based on how people seem to react, people who have been starved of live entertainment for 5 months. I don't think that the live entertainment is going to go away. I hope that people will come out of it with more appreciation for that. Maybe the format will be different. Maybe the way that we fund it, the way that we sell tickets, etc. The spaces in which it takes place might be different. Definitely for my work, it will be. But I don't think that streaming entertainment will be taking the place of live entertainment.
You mentioned that you thought where you would be performing things would be different. In what way?
Oh, well, I always thought of myself as a proscenium person. Like I love a proscenium, and I never wanted to do site-specific work. And I still don't want to do site-specific work. And I found my way around the problem, which is like to take the indoors outdoors. And I have a frame for my work, which is what I was needing all that time. It's like a really small frame, but it does the trick. A lot of times when I see things outdoors, I'm like, the outdoors is overwhelming these small human figures. And so to have a frame that puts it in context is what I personally need for my work, that has a lot of small, very small details of hands and feet and such. And so now that I see that I can do that, I'm like, yeah, it's great to be able to go outside, and I maybe need to work on making the work a little bit more accessible from 360 degrees, but to make it accessible to all kinds of people, like people who don't yet know that they like dance, and even like little kids who are 3 years old. I think that's an amazing thing, and for such a long time I've been feeling, although I love the prosceniums, like so depressed about like how hard it is to get people into a theater. How not even if you give the tickets away, it's just hard to get people to devote an evening to coming to the theater. And that this is my career and my livelihood is something that's such a niche, is something that I've felt sort of like guilty and icky about for a long time. So to be able to do it in this way that feels like you are actually offering something to people rather than they are giving you something by showing up. That to me makes a big switch in how I think about it all.
Josh, what are you planning for the football field?
So we have a new art building that's like adjacent to the dance building. And Jared Doster, another grad of SAM, he's like a camera whiz, and he has a drone.
Oh.
And so I'm like asking him to maybe collaborate. But I think for me, and I don't know if this answers the question, but I just want to keep people moving. And so like I'm not so much worried about like the performance aspect, but like the dancers aspect of like with you, Stephanie, like just like the physical sensation of moving and moving and moving and moving when you don't want to move. And I think that gives the students at least, and the artists, just a chance to not dance in front of a mirror, to be in grass, to be outside, to be sweating. And so I think we're just gonna do that and see how the filming takes place. We are gonna have like a night setting and a day setting with the football lights, so that could be interesting. Yeah.
What's inspiring you right now, Mike?
I think with this pandemic, I think the biggest thing that has inspired me is the connection that you've brought. I feel like there's things that I haven't done or even talked to or worked with in a while that the pandemic has brought. Like people from LA, we've worked with together with people with New York, people in Brazil, dancing with people in California and Michigan. And like, there's certain things with the pandemic that has brought like a lot of connection in that sense. Certainly, technology has kind of taken over, but like, I feel like, maybe the future of it is a hybrid of something of that sense of like bringing live with the technology and like, how do you work with collaborators to make it, engaging in the same way as you would with the live performance. But, those are the puzzles that like we're trying to all kind of figure out to make, just even watching something, come to life. Whether it's on the screen or in person. So how do you bring those two things together is like kind of the big question.
Certainly feeling that. I mean, I don't think I've been able to spend time with any of you in at least a year, some of you more than that. other than like a text message or a quick phone call. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Mike, about the way that we're connecting in a different way. And I don't know, it seems like there's time and space for it in a way that there isn't when we're, constantly trying to produce things.
I feel like I've gotten much worse at keeping up with all my communications platforms, my emails and text and WhatsApps and Facebook messages. It's like things are slipping through the cracks at a faster and faster rate. And they shouldn't be, since in theory I have nothing to do but look at a screen. But
You're scouting the city. You have lots to do.
That is true. It's true. Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious. Most everybody has been a performer. Actually, all of us have, I think. I'm needing to hear your most embarrassing moment on stage. Miss Stephanie.
There's so many, but I'm gonna just pick one. I was doing a piece for River North Dance Chicago, and it was a Danny Ezerlo piece, and it was a piece called Pulse, and it's a lot of sliding, running and sliding, and we had we had these ballet shoes on with organza, and then we would tie them. So I mean, you were like on ice. So he choreographed this whole thing, and he's like, "Oh, guess what? We're putting these things on our feet." And I'm like, "Are you insane? Like, I just did this whole solo." Oh well. So it really changed the whole dynamic. And I just remember thinking, I went out, we were at the Harris Theater, I was doing my solo, it was opening night, and I bit it so hard. I mean, I fell, apparently I popped up as quick as I fell down, but I mean, I just was like, boom, back. I mean, I heard it. And I remember I was young, I was so upset. And I remember him coming backstage and saying, I think it was like, I may have even like been crying or something like that. I don't know. And he said, "Oh my God, why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Well, I fell." He's like, "Thank you for breaking the monotony of that piece. I mean, just falling. I thank you so much." And it was like, wait, what? Cause he's an out there choreographer, but that was pretty embarrassing. Just falling, just having no control over my feet and just wiping out. I did that a lot. Just fall for no apparent reason. I don't know. It was one of those dancers. I'm sure I have more, but I'll let you guys share first.
What about Joshua?
Also in Chicago, I was in this fight scene and it was slow motion, like all this like stage combat. And there was a lift where like I went onto this gentleman's shoulder and you just hear this rip right up the crack, like exposed legs, nice ripped pants. And like the music was real silent, so I'm sure the audience could kind of hear the ripping of my pants, And you have a dance belt on, which isn't the most covering of that area. And it had to be in slow motion, so there's nothing I could do, like I just had to let it happen. And it was also at the Harris, so that's always, I gave people a show.
So good.
Mike.
In college, I was dancing in a piece, and I got kicked in the face, and my contacts got popped out, and I couldn't see the rest of the piece, and so I was literally like squinting to figure out what was happening and where the front was and where the back was, and so it was pretty comedic as far as like trying to follow up with the rest of the piece. Yeah.
Okay, it's your turn in the hot seat, Gabrielle.
Yeah, well, I was having a hard time, but Joshua inspired me. Let's see, it was the Romeo and Juliet in Montreal. It was the Jean-Christophe Maillot version, and I was Lady Capulet, who is in that version, very slinky, and she has a dress slit all the way up one leg, and you're wearing these black sheer stockings. It's a very beautiful, sophisticated costume. I love that costume. I would wear it out. But the sheer stockings were very fragile, and so right before the curtain went up, I got a giant run, like that big, like big hole in the stockings, and that's all anyone could see.
Gabrielle, have you ever seen or did you ever dance Black Cake by Hans von Mannen?
I haven't, no.
Oh, you would be stunning in that ballet. You have to look it up. You would be so stunning in that ballet. And Joshua, you could be in a dance belt in that ballet because the pants are see-through.
I have experience from it.
Actually, maybe we should just do a production of Hans von Mannen's Black Cake, and it can be just all of us. I think that's a great idea, actually. I would love to do it.
One of my first choreographic works, and this was like when I was 11, that I choreographed something for the smaller children at my school, and they were supposed to be ants, like taking little grains of rice across the stage, and they were like 3 years old or something. And so I choreographed this dance, and it premiered, and the audience is just going wild, laughing their heads off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a really good choreographer. I didn't even realize this was so funny. And it turns out, like, my parents told me later that one of the little kids had a hole that big in the butt of his tights, and you could just see the crack the whole time. And his butt is to the audience while he's picking up these grains of rice the whole time.
You know, my embarrassing moment is the same, Josh. I was doing this. We were on tour in Canada in this very small town called Guelph that has an insanely great dance audience. And they have a really great festival every summer. And I was performing this duet up there. And about halfway through this 30-minute duet, I ripped the whole backside of my pants. And so I did the rest of the dance squeezing my butt together, trying to keep my dance belt from hanging out. My dance belt. Yeah, other things for probably hanging out. Okay, my last question to sort of wrap this all up, which is so sad that it went so fast. What is one piece of advice that you would give to young dance makers or young creatives as they're sort of either transitioning into the dance world or you know, maybe it was just one really great piece of advice that you've received from somebody? We'll start with you, Stephanie.
You know, I would say I try not to give too much advice, but like, what would I have wanted to hear, like my younger self, maybe? You know, to have some tenacity, you know, some real tenacity, like in terms of there's going to be a lot of no's, there's going to be a lot, and it's just like, and also, do you really have the passion for it? Because it's a long road. I feel like it's a journey. So to really ask yourself those hard questions, like, is this something that I'm truly, truly passionate about and willing to be patient and keep making things no matter what? I think, you know, the younger ones want to just, you know, get in there right away, and I understand, but I think it's a little bit of layering that you make this and then it keeps kind of growing. So, and also just to every once in a while, look where you've come, like look how far you've come. Because I think for me, I just keep thinking like, okay, what's the next thing? And actually the reflection on what I've done has been more helpful than I thought. You know, just reflecting. I'm always what's the next? And I think it's really important.
That's great advice. Thank you. That was great advice for me. And for all the young, you know, I say young creatives and I include us in that. I mean, we're not aging anybody. I mean, we're all 20, 23, right? Tops. Just so young. Mike, what do you got to say?
I think just to learn a lot of the trade, lighting, music. I think it comes through a lot when you can really master certain things and be aware of what's happening with your work, because sometimes we're also focused on the choreography and the way it's presented on stage, and we're forgetting about like how it's going to look and what's going to happen with the lighting and how you're going to communicate with people on stage. It's like the whole production of it, I think, is something that some people forget to learn. Like you see some choreographers and how they work with lighting designers and like working with costume designers and that whole trade and like kind of response to each other, I think makes a more successful work when you have that relationship with every parts of the production, rather than just like focusing on your end of it. Okay.
What about you, Gabrielle? What is some advice you?
I guess I would give the advice that you don't have to know everything at the beginning of a creation, that you can figure it out once you start. And that is advice that I could be listening to myself right now, because even though I know that based on past experience, I'm still very anxious about every single creation that I do, thinking that I should know this project I'm working on today. I should know all of these things about it that I don't know yet. And you know things when it's time to know them.
Okay, Joshua.
Yes, I need to be writing all of this down. I'm like you, Gabriel, like I get anxious before every making thing, right? The kind of the hill where you get here and sometimes you ride it and sometimes you don't, but I would say listening to what moves you, whether that be like your music that excites you, a reading, a writing, nature, but sometimes if it's not moving you, then it's okay to move on and to find things that really physically move you. And I would pair that with a really like rigorous improv practice that is just for yourself, not for social media, not for anyone, but like your own introspection. Those two things I think really help keep me sane and keep me genuine as much as possible, even though I like watching you all swirl on social media too.
Can I just ask you a question about that then? Because I feel like I love a rigorous improv practice, but I worry about how it looks. Like with your practice, do you film yourself? Do you manage to do it all internal, or is there this external internal kind of thing?
You know, that's such a good question, because through COVID it's changed. I used to like videotape my improvs and be like, oh, like the moment I loved was the moment I hated, and the moment that I like truly improvised I loved. So it's like this, I've been using photo booth on here on my laptop, and I think it's a mix of videotaping and right now I love like ballet music, like attendu, plie music, rondejams. There's something about the space in ballet music that reminds me to like make different choices. So I think for me, it's also like even in this studio with the younger students, like just having no eyes on me for a moment, except my photo booth, myself, and my Spotify, and a big baggy shirt. I have to have lots of fabric, but I think for me, and just to answer your question, it's I think, how do I say it? And taking the pressure off of making something great every time. Sometimes I feel like with an improv practice, I have to walk away with something like that I love. I think through COVID, I realized that's just not going to happen, and that's part of it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I aspire for it to be like an experience that it doesn't matter how it looks, but I can't say, I start to get curious about how it looks.
Yes, exactly.
And then I have to film it, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And do you save them all or do you delete them?
I trim down and I save the little bits that I like, but then I get rid of the rest, yeah. Same.
Our computers are just full of music files and video files and photographs, right? As choreographers, like that's all you have space for.
I bet Josh has some cat and dog photos too.
Yes, I do. I have 7 animals, so I think I have enough for each of the ideas in my head.
And you only have those because you moved to the regions.
What's that?
And you only have those because you moved to the regions out of the city?
Well, I have them because of students in Huntsville, Texas that don't take care of their animals and ended up on my porch.
I have 3 cats here in New York, so.
Yeah.
Fair.
I would have more if I could.
We have 0 because I'm too concerned about our floors. I'm too paranoid about all of our things in our home.
I get that.
I was at, speaking of animals, I feel like I attract them too. I was at a North Carolina School of the Arts, and I was staying in a little house, and I found a kitten, and she was crying, and I took her into my house and then trapped her, and then it's all on my day off, right before I go in, then went to the Humane Society, took her there. Her name was Blanca, and she got adopted. Because I was like, what am I going to do? I can't leave her. Like, she got adopted within 3 days, but I kept her in the house, and she slept underneath the couch, and I fed her. So I usually, if I'm not like in the city or if I'm somewhere, I usually find an animal, a cat or a dog, and I rescue them and I take them or I trap them. So that's one of my other hobbies that I have going on. I can't help it. They know, they find me, like they know when you love them, they feel it.
That's for sure. Mike had to take care of my fish when he came for our residency. He stayed at my apartment, had to feed my fish.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well,
oh my God, your old apartment, huh?
yeah. We
Yeah.
also had some air conditioner problems while you were staying there. The conditioner was dripping on the floor.
Yeah, I do remember that. You're like, just leave that there. It's okay.
I'm glad you're so generous and you're still making beautiful work for us. Well, I adore every single one of you. You make me feel so excited about the future and happy. I adore you. I love you all dearly.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we got to do this and that I got to share you with each other, those of you that don't know each other, and also with all the people that are watching. So next week, this happens again, and the week after that, and the week after that, every Thursday in September. Next week, I have Omar Roman de Jesus, I have Sidra Bell and Josh Prince. Super excited about those people. So check back in here at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Follow all these people on social media and check out their websites. They're doing really beautiful, special things, inspiring things. And we will sign off and see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Josh.
Thanks,
Great to
Love you
guys.
guys.
Love
Thanks,
you too,
Josh.
Josh.
Pleasure.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.